Hello, all you scientists, and welcome on back. I am your host for today. So I hope that little "be right back" section inspired you guys to go grab yourselves a nice cup of coffee, because we're gonna jump right into today's episode. So, in today's episode of the podcast, as you probably saw from the title, we're talking about what the hell are probiotics. I'm a microbiologist, so I know what they are, but most people don't know what they are. And the simple reality here is that we see probiotics everywhere. Yogurts say probiotics, sports drinks. I have a protein powder in my kitchen that, no joke, says probiotics added. So probiotics are everywhere, but what are they? And that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, before we can do that, we have to establish what is the human microbiome, because this is really important for understanding what probiotics are. And so let's start with some math. I know, everyone's favorite subject. On average, the average human will have around 1 trillion human cells. Now, the average human will also have around 100 trillion bacterial cells on or inside of them. And a lot of these cells are going to be in your large and small intestines, or down your alimentary tract, as it's medically called. And so that's where the majority of the microbiome is. And next to the skin, there's a ton of microbes on our skin. It's kind of scary how many microbes are on our skin. But that leads us into something which is really important, which is microbes serve a vital ecological role in the human. And that is that the human microbiome is vital because the human microbiome protects us against infection. And what do I mean by that? Well, think of pea plants. I have a bunch of pea plants growing in there. And think of pea plants. If you put 2 pea plants, or just any plants really, that too close to one another, they compete with one another, right? One will eventually outgrow the other one. And when that happens, the one that outgrows the one that was outgrown, dies because it was outcompeted. And bacteria do the exact same thing. So with bacteria, you have competition. And with the human microbiome, those bacterial cells basically cover every inch of our skin and every inch of the human intestines, small and large. And so a healthy microbiome outcompetes pathogens. One pathogen in particular that I think everybody's heard of is called Clostridium difficile. Now, Clostridium difficile is a really, really nasty pathogen. It causes very, very severe bleeding and hemorrhaging, and a whole host of other symptoms. But in 3% of the population, Clostridium difficile is a commensal organism, meaning it lives inside the human body without harming us. Doesn't benefit us, but it doesn't harm us in 3% of the population. But in the rest, it's a deadly pathogen. And if you have an individual, let's say his name is Joe. Joe has a really nasty infection, so he takes antibiotics, right? Now, the antibiotics completely eviscerate his gastrointestinal microbiome, or his gut microbiome. And let's say Joe, unfortunately, gets Clostridium difficile. In Joe, it's going to establish a pathogenic infection because his microbiome is no longer there to outcompete the Clostridium difficile. I'm sorry, Joe. Now, there are antibiotics, but our efficacy of our antibiotics are fading every day because of antibiotic resistance. But that's for another episode. So let's talk about probiotics, why you guys are all here. Probiotics are basically, you could think of them as over-the-counter human microbiome restoration treatments, because most of them restore the human microbiome. And we talked about one of the important functions of the human microbiome, which is to protect us from infection. But another really important function of the human microbiome is for weight loss. And I know a lot of you guys in the audience right now are like, oh, come on, really? Microbes can help us lose weight? And they absolutely can. There's two in particular that increase human metabolism: Akkermansia municipalia and Christianelli minute. I probably butchered those names. But those two bacteria have been shown to increase our metabolism. And in some people, they are natural residents of the alimentary system, of the intestines, both the small and large. So probiotics then, they replenish and restore the gut microbiome, our microbiome. They replenish and restore that, which at the end of the day makes us healthier, because depending on what microbes we have, that is important. But depending on what microbes we have in our microbiome, they serve to potentially increase our metabolism, protect us from infections. And ladies and gentlemen, I kid you not, we are discovering that the microbiome actually influences our personalities. In the stomach, in the stomach / small intestines, there's the second largest collection of neurons out of anywhere else in the human body, next to the brain. And that's in the small intestine. And what we're discovering is that microbes that are members of our natural microbiome produce metabolites which have a direct influence on those neurons and on what neurotransmitters they produce. And so what we're discovering is that maybe up to 50% of your personality is controlled by the bacteria that are living in your gut. Up to 50%. So that is kind of scary in a way, isn't it? Because theoretically then, if we knew exactly what those bacteria are that influence our behavior, theoretically then we could augment that. And that is theoretically possible. In the same sense that if you're an individual who's obese or overweight, probiotic therapy with those two bacteria species that we mentioned previously may actually help increase your metabolism. And that, combined with regular exercise and good diet, could absolutely increase weight loss. And so probiotics contain a whole host of bacteria. Some of those bacteria are things like Streptococcus thermophilus, lactobacillus species, Lactobacillus acidophilus, and of course those two bacteria we discussed previously. And all of these bacteria can serve a specific purpose. Another example I'd like to bring up with you guys is lactose intolerancy. So believe it or not, a lot of individuals who are lactose tolerant, i.e. can digest lactose, have very, very heavy cultures of lactobacillus species in their gut, because lactobacillus produce the enzyme lactase. So here's a question for all of you watching then. If that is the case, when it comes to patients with, lactose intolerancy, let's say, when it comes to patients with lactose intolerancy, is there a possibility that we could specifically seed their gut microbiome with organisms like Lactobacillus acidophilus and other Lactobacillus species to kind of alleviate the effects of that lactose intolerancy? Well, possibly. But overall, to summarize, I guess, probiotics are just essentially over-the-counter microbiome replenitive therapies that are designed to help restore and rebalance the human microbiome, especially after somebody gets over a bacterial infection. If you just get over a bacterial infection where you took antibiotics, your microbiome is going to be eviscerated. And so it's very, very important that you guys make sure to eat yogurt after taking antibiotics and other things that contain active cultures of bacteria or the spores of bacteria. Make sure to take probiotics after your antibiotics. Hey, that rhymes. I like that. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have for you today. If you want to hear the Spotify version, you can go and find that anywhere you listen to your podcasts. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you guys all on Monday, where on Monday we will talk about the science behind keto. Like, what is keto? Everyone talks about what it is, but what is it? Well, we'll talk about that on Monday. Until then, I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. It's beautiful here. I hope it is as beautiful wherever you guys are. And until next time, stand up and question everything.